Hello and welcome back, or welcome if you're new. My name is MarvelousMaurva, and today I wanted to give an update for the month of June. Whenever you're hearing this, it will be the right time for you. So basically, I titled this video or this podcast, What the Universe Wants You to Do Right Now. And the reason why I titled it that is because I have been feeling the energies pretty intensely. If you're like me, you've been feeling them as well. And what I'm feeling right now is that the universe is asking us to kind of revisit things that we thought we kind of overcame. It's bringing some of those challenges back up. So I don't know if you've heard any of my other episodes, but I've referred to our experience as Earth School. And I feel like it's Earth School because we get assignments and lessons, and we complete those lessons or those assignments, and we turn them in, and we get our grade, and then we can either move on or we can redo them. We may not even ask to redo them, but if it's not like a sufficient like A or B, then we have to redo it again. Like we didn't learn the lesson, so we need to redo it. So things that have just been coming up for me is reoccurring stories from the past. I've had wounds when it comes to the masculine, and parts of me does not want to talk about this, but I'm going to, because it doesn't matter. We're not going to live forever, so why hold on to information that could possibly help someone or that someone else could resonate with? So yes, my lessons lately have been regarding the masculine, and I say that because the lessons that I keep getting is in regards to our male counterparts. I consider myself as a woman, born, as a woman. I've given birth to children. I have the organs, the things that make me a woman, in the sense of biology. And so growing up, I had a lot of lessons, a lot of experiences that were, in my opinion, less than favorable. They involved people that I knew, men that I knew, like family members and friends of family that took advantage of me and my sister and other relatives of mine that were growing up. We were just growing up, and being children, you're vulnerable and people will take advantage of that. Over the years, I found myself, working through that. When I turned, I think I was maybe about 35, somewhere around there, 32, 35, I went to a class that was happening at a church that I used to go to. I think the class was called You Can Heal Your Life, or it was something about healing from the past. And so I went to that class, and I was able to break down and talk with others that were dealing with similar things as me, and I was able to let go and forgive relatives and friends of the family that took advantage of me, and I was able to come back into a state of power, in my opinion, a state of power where I didn't feel afraid to be in the same room with relatives that these things occurred. And so I was like, oh yay, like I've taken my power back. I feel strong. I can move on with my life. And for the longest, things were cool. Like I didn't have to keep going through that lesson. And over the past couple years here now, I'm 43 now. So maybe like from 40 on, I've been getting the test again. And here recently, is what I can remember that's sticking out to me, is just little things that are happening around me. Like, I'll meet someone new that is a male, and our interactions will be nice, and we may have things in common. I'm not looking for a relationship, so I'm more so just like being friends with these people and doing things that I enjoy, like hiking or outdoor activities. Just being normal. In my opinion, that's what normal is just being able to be with anyone, regardless of their biology, regardless of what they look like or whatever. I'm more so wanting to connect with people's heart. And so the time that I remember kind of recently, maybe like I was 41, I went to go to like a little concert with a friend. And this is a buddy of mine that I would go hiking with, and he loved nature just as much as I did. And he understood that, hey, I'm not looking for any kind of relationship. As a matter of fact, I actually only prefer to be in a relationship with other women, and in regards to being in a romantic relationship with other women. And so he was fully aware of that. Everything was great. We went to this concert, and he, like, everything he said, he had to like physically put his hand on me. And in hindsight, when I look at in hindsight of how it played out, it looks innocent. But inside of me, what was happening every time he touched me, like, he would tell a joke and he'd put a hand on my shoulder, then he'd tell another joke, put a hand on my back, tell another joke, put a hand on my knee. It was just like, it looked like it would be, friendly, but inside I was hearing voices telling me, I don't like that. I don't like that. Well, I didn't say anything, and by the end of it, I went home. On my way home, I had all this time to drive. It was maybe like a 45-minute drive, so I was just driving and thinking about all of this. And so I ended up calling him as soon as I got home, and I was just like, hey, it didn't sit well with me. I need to tell you what happened. And he totally understood, and he said, I'm a really touchy-feely kind of person, and I'm sorry that made you uncomfortable. And that was the end of that. So I was like, okay, maybe I've learned, maybe the lesson is done. Well, here lately, it's been coming up again. A place that I worked at before the job that I have now, I met a nice person. We're come from the same kind of background. He's Jamaican. My family's Jamaican. So, I found that to be, like community. And one day I was at the grocery store and I ran into this young man, and this young man decided that he needed to tell me how big the cucumber was that was sitting in the top of my cart. And he said that he had a cucumber that's way bigger than that, referring to his genitalia. And so I was just like, I asked him, to like leave me. Like, somehow, I don't remember the words that I said, but I was in the store with my daughter, by the way, as well, when he was doing all this, and he wanted to like shop with us and everything, like just completely just take over my trip. And it was a lesson in boundaries. I was able to stand up for myself and to be aware that you can't just laugh off someone talking about their penis size because they're thinking about using their penis on you or something like that. You can't just laugh that off. It's not a joke. If it makes you uncomfortable, you need to speak up about it. So I did. I've been seeing that person. I've seen him now maybe like 3 more times since that happened. And the last 2 times I did not speak to him. The time before I did, we were at the grocery store again. He saw me, but this conversation was really fast. And I could tell that spirit or the universe was just putting other things trying to help me make it through. Because someone like crossed right in front of him. And there was no room for me to talk. There was no room for him to talk. And I went to my car. I had already checked out, and I went to my car. I was like, whew, thank goodness. Okay, so that brings me to the next story. So the next story, I was walking, and this is more recent. This was in the past 2 months here. I was walking, doing like speed walking this day, doing my exercise thing. I love to exercise and move my body. I think it's wonderful that we can do the things that we can with our bodies. And so I was out there doing my exercise thing, and this young man stops me and tells me how gorgeous I am, and if I'm looking for a running partner or walking partner, he's down. I was just like, oh man, I love to walk, I love to run. He had me at run, and I was like, he said he was in school out here and going to learn, and like in college, going to learn and this and that, and I don't know. Something in me was just like, okay, well, yeah, this would be exciting. So I did exchange numbers with him. And as he was leaving, he was back in his car. I was back walking. He pulls up next to me and he's like, would you consider having a three-way with me and a girl? And I looked at him and I was like, boy, you sure are brave. That's what I remember saying that. And I said, no, I'm not interested in any of that. And I just kept on walking. And I got to contemplate and think as I walked home, like, why is this still happening? And I thought about how I just like gave my phone number out. So that was the first thing. Like, sometimes people will take our kindness for weakness, and everyone is playing their part. I really believe that everyone is playing their part, and everything that happens in our reality is because we need to experience them. They need to be processed through our physical bodies. I remember telling a friend about it a few days later, and she was upset because she was more like, hey, like, don't talk to strangers. Basically, like, mothering me, telling me, hey, don't talk to strangers. You never know. They could drag you in their car. They could do this, that, and the other. And I got super emotional, and I was crying. I feel like I cried the rest of the day, even after I got home. And I thought that I was crying, because I was happy that I had overcame this. But when I really like sat with myself, I was like, it's frustrating that this is still happening. So that brings me now to the present moment. Again, it came up again. Another friend, and all of these are men. It came up again, another friend. He he's a friend, he's nice, he volunteers at the same place that I volunteer at, and everything is just calm. And I'm also like telling the story and listening for anything extra, any kind of other intel that I'm getting, and so far it's just a story. Everything was just calm. We're talking, things are going nice. I'm listening to his stories about his history and learning and talking about the universe and things like that. And he was telling a very animated story, and the more excited he got with his story, the more like he was like touchy-feely. Like, he touched me on my shoulder, he touched me on my leg, and then he got like closer on my leg. And as he was telling the story, it was so loud and evident in my mind, I couldn't even stop. I had to stop him. I couldn't like keep listening to his story. I had to stop him. I said, I hate to interrupt you, but I really need to say this right now because I can't stop thinking about it, and it's like getting louder and louder. And I was like, can you please not touch me? Like, I'm not trying to be rude. And I didn't even say I'm not trying to be rude, but in my mind I was thinking, I'm not trying to be rude. I don't want to be rude, but I need to like enforce my boundaries. Clearly my physical body still feels some of the trauma that it went through as a child growing up, and it wants to know that it can trust me and trust my mind to not allow people to just do what they want with me. And so I told him how I felt. And then I told him I made a good point, and I was really proud of myself because I said, you just touched me, like, and I showed him where he touched me on my leg. And I said, I was sitting there and I wasn't going to say anything. But then I thought in my mind, like, if I was a man, would you be telling the story and getting that close to a man as well, touching him on his leg, like on the inside of his leg? Like, it was close to my knee, but it was on the inside of my leg. You had to reach over to like get that close, and that's me slapping my leg. If you heard a little sound effect there. And he said no, and I was like, yeah, that's what I was thinking. And I was like, I went ahead and told him, I was like, I have a lot of trauma that I'm like still processing, and I've been getting this story and it just keeps coming back up. And so he actually listened. And he said, I'm so sorry. He's like, we forget that people go through things, and, I don't know what you've gone through. You don't know what I've gone through. And so when we speak up for ourselves, then that allows us to let others know where we've been and what our boundaries are and what type of friendship we would like to have. And we can foster really good dynamics like that. And so I felt really good by the end of it. And not only that, I felt like I had made like a friend, like, because he's an older gentleman. He's an older man that is in the same volunteer, has a good heart. I can see his heart. So I know that he wasn't doing anything. He said, I'm so sorry. And I was like, no, you're playing the part. You're playing your part. I said, this was supposed to happen. In order for me to learn my lesson, my assignment, for me to pass this grade, I have to be able to address it when it comes up. And that way I can potentially stop attracting it from coming up, because I will be more in my power to not even let things get to that point. My heart, my body, my mind, everything will be connected, and know that we are safe and people are not going to take advantage of our physical body. And so I don't know, I feel like I've just told y'all like a lot of my life, but I wanted to just express that this is something that's been coming up. And if you've been getting these kinds of lessons, whether it be, in the same realm of what my lessons are, or even in relationships, like the last relationship I was in, I don't recall being asked if I would be someone's girlfriend. It was just told to me, hey, like, not even told to me. It was just, I just heard it as I was in front of someone else, them saying this, introducing me as their girlfriend. And in my mind, I remember thinking like, hey, I wasn't even asked. Like, I think that would be something so nice to be asked to be this woman's girlfriend, versus just like it being assumed and me going with it. I was so excited. I just like went with it. And turned out it wasn't the relationship that I wanted to keep going. I learned so much about myself in that relationship, but it's again about boundaries. And if I feel like my lesson is, if I don't keep those boundaries intact, and I don't recognize and I don't hear that voice that's talking loud and listen to that voice, that I'm not going to be honoring myself. I'm not going to be living in my highest timeline. I'm not going to be fully in my power. I'm just going to be giving it away to whomever comes by and says, you are my this and that. If you follow human design, then this might make sense to you. In human design, I am a 3-5 generator. They call it the heretic. Like the number 5 is a heretic, which is like a hero. And the number 3 is an experimenter. So I like to experiment and try new things. I'm constantly building things and breaking them down, trying something and tearing it apart. I'm always experimenting and investigating things. It's the investigator heretic. The heretic part of me is the part of me that is what people see. What people see when they see me is someone that can save them. And I had no idea that this was a part of me. It makes 100% sense now that I've learned, about human design and that this is a thing. It makes so much sense that when people see me, they're always like, hey, she can do it. Marva can do it. She knows how to do this, that, and the other. She knows how to fix this, that, and the other. She can hold space for this, that, and the other. Without me even realizing, here I am holding space for people, allowing people to feel what they need to feel, and just taking over, kind of being a hero, but to a fault. And what I've learned since really studying human design and studying my design in general, specifically is the word, actually not in general, but specifically what I've learned is that I don't have to be everyone's savior. Just because that's what they see in me does not mean that I have to actually fulfill that. And I also have to make sure that I have boundaries, and I have to be able to, I have to say no. If I don't feel 100% lit up, that's the generator part. So the generator side of me is I need to 100% feel like a hell yes. And if I don't feel that, then it's not something that's in alignment for me. And so it's really been helping me. All of these things, just learning about myself, has really been helping me to navigate through our world and to make life so much easier. I used to be so stressed out when I was a younger mom. My kids were younger. I was always just hustling and doing everything. I would waste so much energy. In hindsight, looking at it now, I would do so much, and I would be exhausted by the end of the day, which was a good thing. It's nice to, be tired from doing a lot, but at the same time, the frustration behind it is not me. And I know now, when I feel frustrated, I just need to stop, put whatever it is I'm doing down, take a step back, and go relax, do something else, and just something that lights me up. If you haven't learned about human design, I think that you should. I know that this episode was kind of all over the place, but honestly, I haven't recorded in almost 2 weeks now. Last week's episode was pre-recorded. It was one day a few weeks ago where I just had so much energy and I made 4 episodes at once, and it was perfect because last week and the week before, I did not have the energy. I did not have the things that I wanted to share. So it worked out. And I'm starting to trust that a lot more, that everything is happening the way that it should, of course. And that I don't have to be a workaholic. I don't have to do all the things. I can do things that light me up. I don't have to feel the world is waiting for me. I can literally just be, and everything's going to work out. So yeah, like I was saying, today's episode kind of was all over the place. I hope that you got something from it. I hope that you got something from this. And even if you didn't, I hope that you just reflect, and eventually something will come from it for you. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. Honestly, it doesn't really matter to me because I'm really doing this because it is an outlet for me to just I don't go to therapy. I really just journal and talk to myself. So I feel like that is my therapy. And this is an expression of my therapy as well, being on this podcast, being able to use my voice and say the things that's in my head, because I have a ton of thoughts all day. Astrologically, I'm My sun is in Aries, my moon is Gemini, and my ascendant is Taurus. So my moon, that Gemini in me, she loves to think. The Aries in me loves to move quick and like do things so fast. Like she's so ready to just like go, even if it's not in alignment. And the Taurus in me loves to just nurture and be at home and take care of my family and be there for my community. So that's me in a nutshell. Again, like I said before, consider subscribing wherever you are. If it's morning, noon, or night, have a good one. I'm going to leave it here. Until next time, I love you all.